touching on the top prop bets in the NBA today. All right, so looking at the board today, it's not going to be as good as yesterday's video, at least at the start of it. Obviously, yesterday's video, as it developed, as I was recording, literally props were disappearing. And so that's why I came out with yesterday evening's video. And part of the reason why I came out with that as well is because we had a free square pretty much, as well as looking like we had a hockey player end up being like minus 165. And so a lot of people were able to use that hockey bet to use with the NFL free square. So that's the second time we've been able to benefit from kind of a free square hockey wise, and then also use that with the NFL free square. So hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that. I know that video came out a little bit later than normal. Apologies for that. Okay. It was about 2 hours before lock. That's basically when the data was made available. So looking at today's slate, we have two really strong bets. Okay. And hopefully they don't change as I'm recording. So the first one that we can see is going to be looking at Darius Garland over 7.5 assists. So we can see we're going to get favorable odds there, minus 140 to get the over, which is great odds there. Okay, the minutes aren't going to change or anything like that. We can see like all the predictive data, if you want to call it that, that's up for you guys' determination there. It's saying that the over should be able to hit. And then given the fact that Vegas is already saying that it's going to be over by valuing this at minus 140, this is one of the stronger bets that we're getting. Now, I want to make this clear. The edge is set at 0.63. A hammer bet, I have it coded to be an edge of over 1. So not a big edge projection-wise, but still across the board, this is looking like a solid bet. And so the biggest issue that we're going to have is lately, Garland has only played 23 and 28 minutes. Okay, that's obviously not preferred there. Okay, so if we know for sure that he's going to get these minutes, and I would assume so, okay, 2 blowouts, and that's what we're seeing there. If the game stays close, then he should be able to get there. So the biggest question we have is, what's the game over and under? Is it a game that's projected to stay close? It is. The thing with it is not a high scoring game. So that's kind of the biggest worry, is that obviously with assists, you are depending on other players to produce. And so we need other players to make shots. And so in the lower scoring game, that is the slight worry. And then let me just pull it up to make sure it's still there. Yeah, minus 140. And that's going to be true across all the sports books. So starting point for today is looking pretty good there. Okay, and then just looking at the last 5 game log for Darius Garland as well, I could see why some people might be hesitant to do that. But let's look at it again. He is someone on the season averages 8 assists, okay? And the 2 games prior to that, the 2 most recent games, 7 and 5, those 2 games were blowouts. Okay, so he is someone that I think we're getting this number, he's expected to get back to his mean, which is about 8 assists. And so with that being down recently, we expect it to be higher. It's kind of, I think that was the case with, was it RJ Barrett, or I can't remember who the bet was yesterday for over rebounds now. But it was the same case as yesterday. So now if we run it back the other way, Monte Morris under 5.5 assists. And now it's kind of the exact opposite, where recently he's been over that number. Okay, now if we pull up his game log, we can see that on the season is someone that only averages about 5.4 assists per game. Okay, so been over a little bit recently, probably expected to be down a little bit. Okay, we look at the matchup with Indy, seeing if he's played against them at all. He did, and in that game he went for 12 assists. Okay, and I'm curious, let's just see if Beal was active in that game. He was. Wow, okay, interesting there. But part of this now is that they have none there available. Okay, Kyle Kuzma was out. That shouldn't change much, and if anything, that could hurt him. One of their best scorers is out. Still got Porzingis there, though. So if we look at it further, guys, the odds for Monte Morris to get under 5.5 assists is set at minus 142, and he's currently projected to get 5 only. So it is very close, okay? Very close. And actually projected to get a little bit less minutes. I wonder if that's because of the Kendrick Nunn being there, potentially. Okay, we can see all the numbers are kind of, all the data, predictive data that we have in there is suggesting that it should be under. So right now, the 2 strongest bets that we're getting both odds-wise and projection-wise are going to be Monte Morris under assists, and then also Garland over. So like those 2 would be my bets of the day for now. So I always like to start out the video with the best bets, because if they update throughout the day, at least people are getting the best props at the start of the video, just in case they change as they're watching the video. They can pause it and go back. Did that yesterday with the hockey bet. It's because the numbers should change throughout the day with how they're being valued. So here's an interesting prop line. So points, rebounds, and assists, Zach LaVine is projected to get under this number. That's just interesting to me. I want to look at this one though for rebounds. Okay, the odds are favoring the under, the projections are favoring the under. Okay, this is kind of a big edge. So the average sportsbook line here is saying that he is projected to not even get 3.5 rebounds. Okay, where the PrizePicks line is saying it's at 4.5. And so we can see kind of why this would be a good number. Now, it's not checking all the boxes or anything like that. His prop line based off of his minutes would be over. Okay, we look at his average, 4.7. That's also over. Okay, so it's not a lock and load bet, but we are seeing sportsbooks are already favoring the under at 3.38 on average, okay? And they're giving plus odds to get the over, okay? So we can see why this is a pretty strong bet on paper, okay? Kind of same thing with DeMar DeRozan. And so to me, if we go back to that game, I wonder if it's because of the high over and under for one, but two, obviously the Cavaliers run out two big, Jared Allen and also Evan Mobley, so maybe there's just less rebounds available, and Vooch is also going to be the one soaking up all the rebounds, okay? And I think it's partially due to the fact that, you know, Cleveland has those two rim blockers, rim protectors in Allen and Mobley, so it's just harder to get to the rim. Thus, it's harder to kind of get those free rebounds. So I think it's more or less, if they're going to get a rebound, it's going to be one of those long rebounds, you know, off of a, you know, long 3-ball attempt or something like that. They're not going to have those close-up bunny ones. And that's just my assumption with that number that we're getting. So PJ Washington was a bet that I made yesterday for over fantasy points. It was at 25. They have since bumped it up now, and I think that he should be here. If you just look at what he averages with Mason Plumlee off the court, it's about 35 fantasy points per 36. And so the biggest question would be kind of what are the minutes going to be? And also, can we expect him to have a good game against Denver? Well, let's go ahead and break that down. So this game against Denver, I'm going to assume it's going to be a blowout. Okay, it's not too much. 8.5 is not too crazy. That's not what I was expecting. We can see it is going to be a higher scoring game though. Okay, so that's going to be appealing to me. Now, don't get me wrong. I am very excited for Mark Williams, DFS-wise, fantasy-wise, still very cheap. Wow. If you guys are playing DFS, that's still a cheap number for him. He played 31 minutes. Okay, very interesting there. Okay, this is about PJ Washington. If we get a good number on Mark Williams, definitely try to take advantage of that as well. But looking at PJ Washington, you know, had 14 shot attempts. I think we are going to consistently see him get a little bit more shot attempts. I think we are going to consistently see him get a little bit more rebounds. Now, what makes him also appealing is that the fact that he can get some blocks and get some steals. So that is something that does raise up his floor. So if we're going to see him have an increase in usage of about 4%, which is what he gets with Plumlee off the court, obviously Plumlee's gone, then we should be seeing step into a more valuable role. And so looking at the last game against Denver, that's going to be the eyesore, okay? We don't like that. Had a terrible game, okay? That's the biggest worry. And he didn't even get into foul trouble. But still, this number for him, 26.5, is most likely too low. As long as the game stays close. It's a high-scoring game. He should be part of the reason as to why, you know, they do well if they keep it close. And so looking at guys, I have this pulled up. Given his projected minutes, increase in usage, and his average, even PrizePicks line-wise, 2.8 on average, or 28.5 he averages, PrizePick-wise. So they're currently valuing him at under his average, okay? And the projection is 31. So a pretty good edge there. And then just going to highlight some other ones that we're getting out there. Actually, never mind. It looks like they took out some fantasy point ones. So like Wagner's projected to get over this. I don't like this one, but it is something where he's projected to get over, so might as well call it out. Let's look at the other way. I don't know if I agree with this one. I'd probably stay away from this one. Malachi's been going off. Heck, I'd probably bet the over here. Okay, but that's a number that we're not getting right now either. So I guess just be on the lookout for this prop if it comes back out. Okay, fantasy points. And guys, NBA-wise, sometimes they have to take away props. It's just with injury news and whatnot, they kind of just have to. So just an FYI. I will still say, like, the number that we're getting on Jordan Poole for points and assists still seems too low. Okay, he is someone with Curry off the court, and I will say he's due for a poor night shooting. Okay, that's going to happen. Okay, but this number for him seems too low. He's someone that averages 28 points per 36 and about 4 rebounds or 4 assists with Curry off the court. So we're already gaining a slight edge there. And if we look at this game, I'm sure it's a high scoring game. Yeah, 238. Projected to be a close game. We pull up the game log for him. We can see he's been shooting the ball a ton, and really the difference for him production wise is literally going to be if he has a cold night shooting. Like Jalen Green yesterday was a pretty strong bet, I thought, given the number that was out there. He had a poor night shooting. You can say, well, that's due to the matchup with Miami. I would also say he had two great nights shooting in a row, and so kind of just you can't have a great night every night. And so given the fact that Miami is a little bit better of a D and he had been hot shooting, it kind of just came together where he had a poor night shooting. So that can always happen. Don't get me wrong. But did the Lakers get better defensively or worse? That's the question from their trade. And it's tough to say. And it really could just depend on their rotations. I would say the Lakers got a little bit worse defensively. So someone like Jordan Poole tonight should be able to get the over here. And so this is another strong bet that we're going to get. Okay, so now we're going to get into some PGA bets. So once again, guys, they're not giving us the greens and regulation or the fairways hit props. Yesterday's was not as good as Thursday's. Thursdays, we hit all of our bets. I think we went 50-50. We saw the lines change like different times throughout the day yesterday because the weather was very brutal at the start of the day. And then as the day progressed, got a lot easier. So the course played a lot easier than expected because the wind that was there in the morning went away. And so if we look at the weather for today, as long as this stays there about 10 to 12 mile per hour winds, probably not going to change how hard the course is going to play today. I am kind of curious as to the pin locations. We can see they are pretty close to the edge here so far, and I believe that this is going to be for round 3. Yeah, so these are all difficult pin locations. So to me, and I'm not seeing the tee box locations, and that does matter. But we can see some of these holes are just very well protected. So to me, it does seem like it's going to be a harder scoring day, especially 15. Wow. Maybe 17 is about the easiest one. Okay, they should be able to birdie that hole. And so this is kind of my long way of saying the projections that we're getting for the strokes over will most likely be more accurate today than yesterday, more like they were on Thursday. Now, I will still say I don't love the numbers here, but we can see like Justin Thomas averages about 70.5 strokes. Okay, line is set at 68, projected to get 69, so that'd be like 2 under par. Okay, so for him to hurt us at 68, he would have to shoot 4 under par. Okay, and to me, that looks like it's gonna be difficult to do. Okay, so with Jordan at 68.5 here, he only has to shoot 3 under par. Okay, so we can see kind of the difference there, and that's kind of what makes me worried. Live player prop average, okay, 68.5. So right at what he's done the 2 rounds. John Rahm and Scotty, they both went off yesterday on easier conditions. Okay, 67.5. They have to both shoot 5 under par in order for them to have the under hit. To me, that's going to be difficult to do. Can they make 5 birdies or maybe an eagle? For sure. That can happen. Like 6 birdies or whatever, maybe an eagle. That can happen. I feel like there's going to be a bogey out there for him, and I feel like it's going to be a little bit more difficult to shoot well. And also, given the fact that they both went off yesterday, to me, that tells us that most likely not going to have as good of a day today. And these props should be available as the day progresses because, well, they have a later tee time. Okay, Tom Kim had a really good day yesterday. I don't expect him to have as good of a day today. If we look at the other way around, we're not getting that great of props. I probably wouldn't touch these, okay? But it is encouraging to me that Scotty Scheffler, birdie or better, is actually projected to be under. So that actually makes me encouraged about the under strokes. So I woke up this morning, checked the NHL prop board. We had a couple that were like minus 140 that were very strong. 2 of those have been taken away, but we still have this one. Arthur under 2.5 shots on goal. And let me just confirm that it's under. Okay, it still is minus 140. So still a good number there. So we could attach this to the other 2 NBA bets that we're getting. And so it should be kind of a strong number there as well. So let's go ahead and get into today's bets. All right, so looking at it, here we go. Here are the bets for today. Arthur, less shots on goal, minus 140, good number there. And then going with some golf bets. To me, I think these 2 have a strong chance to be a push. It's tough to imagine them shooting 4 under par, which is the number that they would have to do in order for this to hit. Okay. And then also Scotty Scheffler has to shoot 5 under par in order for this not to hit. Can happen. Okay, I'm not saying that can't happen, and I wish the weather was a little bit harder, but looking at how the pins are set up, it does seem like it's going to be more difficult. Once again, though, I don't know where the tee boxes are set. If they're moved up, it's going to make the course play easier. Okay, they didn't give us that information, and that's partially because they had to start round 1 later than expected because there's frost on the greens, and so round 1 didn't finish up on time, thus round 2 didn't finish up on time, so they're literally finishing up round 2 right now. So sometimes we don't get that information, and that's what makes it more difficult in this sense, and that's why we're not getting the fairway and GUR props. Now looking at NBA, these are the 2 strongest NBA bets that we're getting, and we saw that the projections are also favoring these 2 bets. Okay, so those are going to be the bets for today. I actually might run this out in a stack. Typically, I like to say, do the best 2-leg bets that you got, okay? And then just like the units 1 in the description below, guys, that is literally based off of this bet that I show you guys. Unless I give you guys a 2-leg bet that's better, this is what I'm pulling it in from.